Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to dig into one of the most overlooked and yet absolutely vital ecosystems on our entire planet. And nope, it's not in the deep sea, it's not in some remote rainforest, it's right under our feet, a hidden living world that we walk over every single day. All right, let's just dive right in with a mystery you've definitely experienced your whole life. You know that incredible, fresh, earthy scent that just fills the air right after a good rainstorm? What is that? Well, believe it or not, that smell actually has a name, geosmin. In Greek, it literally means earth odor. But here's the thing, it's not just the smell of wet ground, it's a chemical signal. It's like a perfume released by bacteria living in the soil. And that is our first major clue that there's a lot more going on down there than we think. So, who's responsible for this planetary perfume? Billions upon billions of tiny workers. That smell isn't some random chemical reaction. No, it's the signature scent of life itself, of industrious microorganisms just toiling away in the earth. Okay, so let's follow that scent. This one single clue, geosmin, is our way in. It's what opens up the entire story of the ground beneath us, starting with the hidden workers who create it. Because those bacteria making that rain smell, oh, they're just the beginning. They are just one resident in this sprawling, unseen metropolis of workers, and every single one of them is performing a job that is absolutely critical for life on this planet. And that's the crucial point here. Soil isn't just passive dirt. It's an active, high-performance system. Biologically, it's the factory for our food, our fuel, our medicine. Chemically, it's this incredibly sophisticated filter for our water. And physically, it's the anchor for all plant life. So we really need to stop thinking of the ground as just a surface and start seeing it for what it truly is. A complex, life-giving, and almost maze-like habitat just teeming with activity. But this habitat, it's more than just a home for tiny workers. It's a bustling, global marketplace. It's an entire economy that trades in the planet's most essential resources. And here is the central paradox of this whole marketplace. Nitrogen gas makes up 78% of the air we breathe. It is everywhere. But in that form, it's completely useless to almost every living thing, including all the plants that desperately need it to grow. Now, for millennia, certain soil bacteria did the impossible. They fixed this nitrogen, converting it into a form plants can use, and they did it for free at normal, everyday temperatures. Our industrial equivalent, the Haber-Bosch process, needs immense amounts of fossil fuel energy and extreme temperatures and pressures just to do the same job. And this just brilliantly illustrates the scale of their importance. Think about this. Until about a century ago, every single nitrogen atom in every plant, every animal, and every one of us had to be put there by the work of these soil microbes. Our entire existence is literally built on their labor. And this marketplace, it also runs on carbon. Plants pull carbon out of the air and then pump up to a third of it down into their roots. This creates this sugary feast, a smorgasbord from microbes in the bustling zone right around the roots, called the rhizosphere. And it's here that these ancient partnerships just thrive. For 400 million years, vast networks of fungi have connected to nearly every plant family on Earth, trading essential nutrients for that plant-made carbon. It's a foundational economy, really, the original World Wide Web. But hang on, if soil is this important, this foundational, how on earth did our relationship with it change so dramatically? How did we go from basically worshiping it to just dismissing it as dirt? Well, for most of the 300,000 years our species has been around, we lived in really close contact with the soil. But then, about 12,000 years ago, the agricultural revolution kicked off. Now, farming allowed our population to just explode, but it also started to change our fundamental connection to the land itself. You know, before this big shift, a deep reverence for soil was woven into the very fabric of our oldest cultures. I mean, from the Greek goddess Demeter to the Hindu deity Bhudevi. In the Old Testament, the first man, Adam, is created from Adama. That's the Hebrew word for soil. The connection couldn't be more fundamental. And this powerful quote from Curly, a Crow Indian, it just perfectly captures a perspective that many indigenous cultures have held onto. For them, soil isn't some resource you exploit. It is the consecrated history of their people. And yet, as industrialization moved us further and further away from our food sources, our language changed. We started calling soil dirt, a word that comes from the Old Norse for, well, excrement. It came to mean filth, corruption, worthlessness. We literally began calling this life-giving treasure a worthless thing. So let's end by recalibrating. Let's pull back the curtain and reveal the true scale of what this so-called dirt actually does for us, silently, every single day. First, and most simply, soil supports the production of 95% of all human food. Let that sink in. Nearly every single meal you have ever eaten started right here. It's also the largest land-based storage vault for carbon on the entire planet, holding an estimated 2,500 gigatons. Now that's more carbon than in all the plants and the atmosphere combined, which makes healthy soil one of our most powerful and most overlooked allies in managing our planet's climate. And it's not just holding things. It actively purifies the groundwater that provides daily drinking water for 2.5 billion people around the world. And this might be its most incredible, most overlooked service. I mean, think about it. People who would never, ever drink from a muddy puddle will happily drink water that's been pumped from deep below that very same puddle. Why? Because the soil's microbial workforce has been busy, removing all the contaminants and turning that puddle into clean, safe drinking water. So here's the crucial takeaway. We tend to see soil as the floor of our world. It's just something we walk on. But what if it isn't the floor? What if this hidden, living world is actually the foundation upon which our entire civilization is built?